Here is a headline you didn't see coming. Mexico's president has announced plans to deport undocumented Americans living in the country. Yes, you heard that right. The tables have officially turned. This move has sparked massive reaction both in Mexico and abroad. So, let's dive into what's happening and how people are responding.
Breaking news. The president of Mexico has stated that he will begin to deport Americans that have moved to Mexico without proper documentation, aka illegal immigrants. This comes after the president of Mexico states that he is tired of Americans gentrifying cities in Mexico. In the past 3 weeks, we have seen different events where Americans try to colonize beaches, public areas, and even salsa. While a lot of these Americans have moved to Mexico for a better life, they move there because they cannot afford to live here in the United States. So move to Mexico so they can afford a lifestyle there, but locals have raised their prices because Americans are paying in dollars while locals that are still shopping have to pay in pesos and now have to pay the equivalent of the dollar. And instead of these people moving to Mexico and bettering the economy, they're making it horrible for the people that live there, the natives. And if you already did not know, the amount of Mexicans migrating to the United States has slowed down by the 100,000 since 2019. The amount of Mexicans living in the United States leaving willingly back to Mexico has increased drastically. And while Mexicans are moving back to Mexico, a lot of Americans have been moving to Mexico for a better life. But my, how the tables have turned. What are your thoughts?
First of all, go back and show that video some love. Here's what's going on. There's been a lot of bullshit from Americans down in Mexico. And the Mexicans have gotten tired of it. And I just want to say, Mexico is a beautiful country. It is diverse. It is, people are fantastic. I just want to say, Mexico is an amazing country. But Americans have gone down there. And, we just have to improve this little old place. And they've tried gentrifying. I'm going to put that in quotes. The places where they're going. In other words, they're trying to turn Mexico into America theme park. And the Mexicans have gotten tired of this. And so the Mexican president has said, Americans who are here illegally, without proper documentation, they're out. We're going to deport them. And I bring your attention to this because I remember back when I first started on this app, before I even discovered filters, I made a joke. I had stitched a video. Now the guy was ranting about illegals are ruining this country. And I made a joke about how on all the Western movies, it was all about the outlaws running to Mexico. It was never the Mexican outlaws running up to America. It was always the American outlaws running to Mexico. So it seemed to me that the problem was Americans running to Mexico. Mexico, I owe you an apology. I owe you a huge apology. Now, I do not speak Mexican, and if I did, I would say this in Mexican. I am really sorry for that joke. I was completely unaware that it was a problem. But I live here in Alberta, which is near Jasper and Banff. And I've seen what Americans do up in those areas. I've been to Calgary. I've watched them there. And yeah, it's a gong show every fucking time. Oh, I just want to pet the sheep. Let me tell you that story sometime. And I didn't even stop to think while I was making that joke that it really was a problem. One of the things that I've always dreamed about, and it is a pipe dream, is being able to be one of the Canadian snowbirds. That's Canadians who leave Canada during winter. And I'd always thought that I would spend the winter down in Mexico. If I had the money and I was able to do it. But I never dreamed that this was. So you have my heartfelt apologies for that joke. And good on you, President, for kicking their asses out of the country.
Mexicans deporting Americans is the funniest thing I've ever learned this year. So apparently Mexican authorities are deporting Americans who have colonized along the area of the beaches. Of course, in the nicer area of Mexico. So if you don't have the proper documentation, they're going to deport you back to United States. And you know the most ironic thing is that these racist American people go live in different countries like in Mexico to live this luxury, beautiful, cheap life. And now they're getting deported. Yeah, the ones that say, go back to your country, go back to Mexico, go back to Guatemala, go back to Venezuela, go back to Cuba. Yeah, those are the ones living the luxury, beautiful life. Well, guess what? You're getting deported back to the United States. These people have exhausted the Mexican resources to live that beautiful lifestyle that they have over there in Mexico that they cannot afford here in America. The table just turned. Pack it up, wrap it up, and go.
Go back to that video to get the full context. I find this fucking hilarious. Hey, colonizers. How does it feel to be on the other side of the shoe? I mean, do we need a... Are you guys okay? No. Are you guys okay? I just want to check up on you. Because I find this situation hilarious. I don't know, I can't stop help laughing. Of like, how the colonizers are getting kicked out. And this is over what? Over what? And it makes me laugh when I'm hearing the story. And here's the thing, as a Latino, I love the story, what's going on right now. First, it started with the colonizer complaining about the salsa being too spicy. So we learned about the gentrification. Then, it gets even better, right? So, what people started doing in Mexico was they were complaining about this. They weren't complaining about the spicy. So, it gets worse. It gets worse. I know I said get better, but it gets worse. And so, the mariachi started playing. And the colonizers were like, hey, you guys play music too loud. So we don't want you to play here. So, Mexico's president sends the goddamn freaking army to go shut it down by the beaches. And then they decided to do this. They decided to sing with the mariachis. So now it came upon the president to now kick out the colonizers. So I just really want to know, colonizers. First things first. How is salsa too spicy? Wife, I know you just woke up. I know you're just tired and you're trying to wake up and everything. But tell me, my sweet pea, how is salsa too spicy for them?
It's not, and I hate spicy, so yeah.
Wait, one more thing, wife. How is mariachi music too loud?
It's not. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful music. It's beautiful culture. Because it's my culture, motherfuckers.
Have you not listened to Vicente? Have you not listened to Chalino? Like I really want. I'm just laughing at this because now the shoe's on the other side of the foot.
Okay, not gonna lie, I was thinking about like doing something funny with this, or some kind of real talk, you know. But the only thing that comes in my mind is, oh boy, has the tables have turned. So now, Mexico, the land of the free, the home of the brave, the land of opportunity. What, did we steal that too? Yeah, I said it, and you know me, I'm the one that always says it, so I said it. And if this offends you, I am not your type of content at all.
Genuine question. Are y'all scared of white people? Because we know who's doing it. If it was anybody that looked like me, it would be Black Americans, African Americans, African Americans. And I'm seeing a pattern here because just last year when I was in school, the Hispanics did the same thing. When it came to black problems that had nothing to do with them, it was black. When it came to white problems that actually kept their ass down systematically and everything else, you never hear them say white people or nothing. And they never fix their lips in front of the white people in that class to say something. And the only thing I'm thinking is like, is it because y'all trying to be nice just in case y'all want to come back? Or what is it? Or do y'all think that all white people have the power to kick y'all out? What is it? Because we know it's them. So why don't y'all say white Americans? America is this big ass melting pot. So y'all just like, we're kicking out Americans and this and that. Like, black, we ain't did shit to y'all. Asians ain't did shit to y'all. Indian Americans ain't did shit to y'all. We know what type of Americans is doing it, so why y'all put a name on it? Or is it that everybody gotta go? It's the white people that's doing it, but everybody gotta go. And another thing, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm in Los Angeles, but them numbers ain't going down. Them numbers ain't going down. Hey, it's okay, but them numbers ain't going down.
As he fucking should. I'm sure they are tired of these illegals slipping down into their country without proper documentation and just fucking everything up for the legal citizens that live there. It is their right to get rid of all of these illegal immigrants that just think they can just slide on in there, act like no one's gonna notice them, and just screw everything up for all of the hard-working legal citizens. Something's caught on my throat. It's a goddamn shame in this day and age. The people just try to bypass the system and just try to slide down into Mexico like no one's gonna notice. It's a goddamn shame. I didn't think it wasn't until I actually said it about how funny I think it is. As he should though. As he should.
Mexicans deporting Americans is the funniest thing I've learned this year so far. Apparently, Mexican authorities are deporting Americans who have colonized along the beaches and nicer areas of Mexico who do not have the proper documentation. So yes, they've been deporting them back to the States. And it's ironic because Americans are like, oh, pack up your bags, you gotta go home or whatever. And well, the Americans who have thought to exhaust Mexican resources and go live the cheap life, right? In nice areas, well, pack up your bags and let's wrap it up.
Someone please give me some Mexican TikTok, y'all. I know it's dark, okay? But listen, Black TikTok needs y'all help. We don't want them either in America. So when you send them back, can you send them back to Europe? Can they go back to the Caucasus Mountains? Because after all, they immigrated to America and they immigrated to Mexico. Can you send them back to their original homeland of Europe? Because y'all, we know how you feel. Okay? We know what you're going through, Mexicans. Black TikTok gets it. But can you please send them back to Europe and not to America?
What you're essentially saying through your whole video, what it boils down to, you're saying it's okay for illegals from Mexico to come in the U.S., but not okay for any Americans to illegally enter Mexico and live. Make that make sense. You Can't have it both ways.
Let's talk about the recent and controversial statement made by the President of Mexico. He announced that undocumented Americans living in Mexico will be deported. This decision is raising eyebrows across the globe, sparkling debates about immigration, gentrification, and involving dynamics between the United States and Mexico. Now, this isn't just about policy, it's about culture, economics, and frankly, a bit of poetic irony. For years, the conversation has been dominated by the US stance on undocumented immigrants, but now the role seems to be reversing. So let's break it all down, from the reason behind this move to how people are reacting to it. First, let's look at why the Mexican president made this announcement. Mexico has become a haven for American expats, particularly in cities like Mexico City, Tulum, and Puerto Vallarta. These are beautiful places with rich cultures and, compared to many US cities, a lower cost of living. For some Americans, it's a dream come true. But here is the catch: not all these Americans have legal residence. Many have overstayed tourist visa or entered this country without following immigration procedures. At the same time, their presence has contributed to rising rents, gentrification, and, in some cases, cultural tensions. Local communities feel the squeeze, and their frustration have been mounting for years. The issue of gentrification is central to this debate. When wealthier foreigners move into a local neighborhood, they often drive up properties values and rents, making it harder for long-time residents to afford to live. This isn't unique to Mexico, it's a global phenomenon seen in cities like Barcelona, Lisbon, and even parts of the United States. But in Mexico, it hits a little differently. This is a country with deep cultural pride and a history of resisting colonial influences. When locals see foreigners dominating public space, opening exclusive businesses, or even twerking traditional salsa recipe, it can feel like another form of colonization. These cultural clashes only add fuel to the fire. So, what is the Mexican president's stance? In his announcement, he made it clear that undocumented Americans are not just breaking the law, they are also contributing to economic and social imbalances. By pledging to deport these individuals, he's signaling that Mexico is taking immigration enforcement seriously, just as many Americans have demanded from their own government. But this move isn't just about policy, it's also about optics. By addressing this concern publicly, the president is showing his citizens that their voices matters. He's essentially saying, we won't let foreigners exploit our country without following the rules. This resonates deeply with many Mexicans who feel overlooked in their own cities. Now, let's talk about the irony here. For decades, the US has debated what to do about undocumented immigrants, many of whom come from Mexico and Central America. American politicians have built careers on promises to secure the border, enforcing deportations, and prioritizing American citizens first. Now, the rules are reversed. America are being called illegal immigrants in Mexico, and some are even facing deportation. This reversal has sparked a lot of reaction, ranging from outrage to amusement. Some people see it as a poetic justice, a reminder that immigration is a two-way street. Within Mexico, the announcement has drawn mixed reaction. On one hand, many locals are celebrating. They see this as a long overdue step to protect their communities from gentrification and cultural erasure. Social media is full of posts applauding the president for taking a stand, but not everyone agrees. Some Mexicans worry that this policy could hurt Mexico's reputation as welcoming, open country. After all, American expats bring money. tourism, and investment. Deporting them might address gentrification, but it could also have economic consequences. Meanwhile, the reaction from Americans has been just as divided. Many experts in Mexico are understandably upset. Some argue that they have contributed to the local economy, opened businesses, and even created jobs. They feel unfairly targeted and are asking why this crackdown is happening now. On the other hand, some Americans see the irony and are using this moment to reflect on their own country's immigration policies. For years, the US has struggled to balance compassion with enforcement. Now, Americans are experiencing firsthand what it feels like to be on the other side of that debate. This story isn't just about Mexico or the US, it's about global immigration trends. More and more people are crossing borders in search of better opportunities, affordable living, or a change of space. But as immigration increases, so do tension over who belongs where and under what condition. The Mexican president announcement is a reminder that every country has the right to enforce its immigration laws. At the same time, it highlights the importance of addressing root causes like economic inequality and cultural displacement to create more harmonious communities. So, what happened now? Will Mexico actually follow through with mass deportations? And if they do, how will that affect relations between the US and Mexico? There is also the question of enforcement. Mexico's immigration system doesn't have the same resources as the US, so implementing this policy might be easier said than done. Still, the president's announcement has set a clear message. Mexico is no longer turning a blind eye to undocumented immigrants, even they come from the US. At the heart of this issue is gentrification, a process where their newcomers move into a community, driving up costs and displacing locals. In Mexico, this isn't just an economic problem, it's a cultural one. Think about it. Mexico is a country rich in history, tradition, and a strong sense of identity. When Americans arrive in droves, snapping up real estate and opening trading businesses, it can feel like they are erasing the local culture. This isn't just anecdotal. You will find complaints from Mexico residents about everything from rising rents to cars and bars catering exclusive to English-speaking experts. One striking example is the backlash against Americans taking traditional food like salsa. For many Mexicans, food is more than just substances, it's a cornerstone of their culture. When someone utters a traditional recipe without understanding or respecting its roots, it can feel like a small but significant form of cultural erosion. This might seem trivial to outsiders, but for locals it represents a deeper frustration with the loss of authenticity. Now let's talk economy. On one hand, Americans living in Mexico do contribute to the local economy. They rent apartments, spend money at restaurants, and often bring new businesses. But there is another side to this coin. The influence of foreign wealth often drives up property values, pricing locals out of their own neighborhoods. For example, in areas like Mexico City, Roma, and Condensal districts, rents have skyrocketed. What used to be affordable houses for middle-class families is now inaccessible because landlords cater to wealthier experts willing to pay more. This creates a domino effect. Locals are forced to move to less desirable areas, which disrupt communities and contributes to a growing wealth divide. For a country like Mexico, which has long struggled with economic inequality, this trend is particularly troubling. Here is where the ironing really hits. For decades, immigration has been a hot-button issue in the US, with heated debate over undocumented immigrants, border security, and economic impacts. Many Americans have argued that undocumented immigrants don't belong and should follow the rules. Now, America and Mexico are facing similar accusations. They are being told they are driving up costs, displacing local and failing to integrate into the culture. The phrase illegal immigrant has taken on a whole new meaning for some US citizens, and it's forcing them and the rest of us to confront a different perspective in immigration. This situation also highlights a double standard. For years, many Americans have felt entitled to live abroad without considering the impact they might have on local communities. This announcement from Mexico president is a reminder that immigration rules apply to everyone regardless of nationality. Let's zoom out for a moment and look at the bigger picture. The relationship between the US and Mexico is deeply interconnected. Economically, the two countries are major trade partners, and socially, millions of families span the border. So, how will the decision affect that relationship? One potential outcome is a shift in how Americans view Mexico. If deportation becomes widespread, it could deter some expats from moving there. That might elevate some of the gentrification concern, but it could also hurt local economies that depend on expat dollars. On the flip side, this decision could strengthen Mexico's stance on sovereignty and equal enforcement of immigration laws. It's a bold move that says we expect the same respect for our borders that other countries demand for theirs. In a way, it's a power move that challenges traditional narratives about the US-Mexico dynamic. The announcement has sparked heated debate online. Social media is flooded with opinions from both sides. Many Mexicans are celebrating the decision, saying it's a long overdue. They feel it's about time their government stood up for locals who have been priced out of their neighborhoods. Hashtags like gentrification and illegal Americans are trending, with people sharing stories of how their communities have changed due to the influence of expats. Meanwhile, many Americans are struggling to reconcile their feelings. Some are angry, calling the decision unfair or even hypocritical. Others are taking a step back and reflecting on their own country's immigration policy, realizing how similar arguments have been made about undocumented immigrants in the US. This role reversal is sparkling important conversation about privilege and responsibilities. What happens next if Mexico follows through the mass deportations? It could set a precedent for other countries facing similar issues with foreign gentrification. It might also spark a broader conversation about the rights and responsibilities of expats worldwide. For Americans living abroad, this situation is a wake-up call. It's a reminder to respect local laws, integrate into communities, and be mindful of the impact they have on the places they call home. And for Mexico, this move could either strengthen its cultural and economic sovereignty or create a new challenges in managing its relationship with the US. Only time will tell how this policy plays out. This story is more than just a headline. It's a turning point in how we think about immigration, gentrification, and cultural preservation. It forces us to look beyond borders and reconcile that these issues are universal. So, what do you think? Is Mexico president making the right move, or is this policy too extreme? Whatever your stance, this moment is an opportunity to rethink our own assumption about immigration and the impact we have on the places we live. Let's keep the conversation going. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more global news and reactions. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.